Dark storm clouds gathered ominously above the medieval kingdom of Cherrywood, casting long shadows across cobblestone streets where merchants had abandoned their stalls in fearful haste. Sir Snifflepot, a diminutive brown mouse barely 3 inches tall, stood defiantly in the castle courtyard wearing an intricately crafted suit of silver armor that gleamed despite the gloomy atmosphere. His bright amber eyes sparkled with determination beneath a tiny helmet adorned with a crimson plume, while his pink nose twitched nervously as he gripped a miniature feather duster in one paw and clutched a leather pouch filled with mysterious giggleberries against his furry chest. The kingdom's inhabitants had fled indoors, whispering anxiously about the colossal giant Gigglesnort who had terrorized their peaceful land for weeks, stealing all traces of joy and laughter from every corner of their once cheerful realm. I shall confront this menacing beast and restore happiness to our beloved kingdom, Sir Snifflepot declared boldly to the empty courtyard, his squeaky voice echoing off the stone walls as thunder rumbled threateningly overhead. The brave mouse knight adjusted his armor's shoulder plates and marched purposefully toward the castle gates, his tiny metal boots clicking rhythmically against the wet stones while rain began to patter softly around him. Despite his minuscule stature and the overwhelming magnitude of his quest, Sir Snifflepot's resolve remained unshakable as he contemplated the daunting challenge that awaited him beyond the kingdom's protective walls. The weight of his responsibility pressed heavily upon his small shoulders, yet he refused to succumb to the paralyzing fear that had already consumed his fellow citizens. As Sir Snifflepot ventured into the treacherous wilderness beyond Cherrywood's borders, the landscape transformed into a forbidding terrain of twisted oak trees and jagged rocky outcroppings shrouded in an eerie mist that seemed to muffle all natural sounds. Suddenly, the earth began trembling violently beneath his tiny feet, and an enormous shadow fell across the path as Gigglesnort emerged from behind a massive boulder. The giant stood nearly 50 feet tall with pale green skin covered in warty bumps, wild orange hair that stuck out in all directions like tangled copper wire, and enormous purple eyes that gleamed mischievously above a crooked nose and a mouth filled with yellow teeth the size of dinner plates. His ragged brown tunic hung loosely over his massive frame, and his bare feet left crater-sized footprints in the muddy ground as he lumbered forward with surprising grace for such a colossal creature. Well, what have we here? Gigglesnort boomed in a voice that shook the surrounding trees and sent birds fleeing in terror from their perches. A pathetic little mouse pretending to be a knight. How absolutely ridiculous. The giant's laughter echoed through the forest like rolling thunder, but Sir Snifflepot noticed something peculiar about the sound. Beneath the intimidating volume, there was a hollow quality that suggested loneliness rather than genuine malice. Drawing upon his courage, the tiny knight stepped forward and raised his feather duster like a sword, his voice trembling slightly but remaining steady as he spoke. I challenge you to combat, mighty Gigglesnort, for you have stolen all joy from our kingdom and left nothing but sorrow in your wake. The giant's expression shifted from amusement to curiosity as he bent down to examine this unexpected challenger more closely. Combat? Gigglesnort repeated with genuine surprise, his massive eyebrows furrowing as he studied the determined mouse knight standing defiantly before him. No one has ever challenged me to combat before. They usually just run away screaming or hide in their houses until I leave. Sir Snifflepot detected an unmistakable note of sadness in the giant's voice, and suddenly he understood that Gigglesnort wasn't truly evil but merely misunderstood and desperately lonely. Perhaps we could engage in a different sort of challenge, the clever mouse suggested, pulling out his pouch of giggleberries and holding them up so the giant could see their bright purple color gleaming in the dim light. I propose a contest of wit and humor instead of violence. If I can make you laugh genuinely, you must promise to stop terrorizing our kingdom and find a more constructive way to make friends. Gigglesnort's enormous eyes widened with intrigue as he considered this unprecedented proposition, his massive head tilting to one side like a curious puppy examining an interesting new toy. "Very well, tiny knight," he rumbled thoughtfully, settling down cross-legged on the forest floor with a ground-shaking thud that sent small animals scurrying for cover. Sir Snifflepot immediately began his comedic assault, juggling the giggleberries while performing an elaborate dance that involved spinning his feather duster like a baton and telling increasingly absurd jokes about armored mice and their adventures in oversized furniture. The giant's stern expression gradually softened as chuckles began escaping from his lips, growing louder and more genuine with each passing moment until he was doubled over with uncontrollable laughter that shook the entire forest. "Stop, stop," Gigglesnort gasped between fits of mirth, tears of joy streaming down his enormous cheeks. "I haven't laughed like this in decades." As the giant's laughter subsided into contented sighs, Sir Snifflepot approached him with newfound understanding and extended his tiny paw in friendship. "You weren't really trying to steal our kingdom's joy," the Mouse Knight observed with wisdom beyond his small size. "You were simply searching for companionship and didn't know how to ask for it properly." Gigglesnort nodded sheepishly, his massive finger gently shaking the mouse's paw as he promised to return all the happiness he had inadvertently taken from Cherrywood's citizens. Together, they returned to the kingdom where the giant apologized to everyone and quickly became the village's beloved protector and entertainer, using his size to help with construction projects and his newfound sense of humor to bring joy to children and adults alike. Sir Snifflepot was hailed as a hero not for his combat prowess, but for his compassionate insight that transformed a fearsome enemy into a cherished friend, proving that sometimes the greatest victories are won through understanding rather than force.